Hey, it's David, and welcome to my garden. We're getting a cold spell here in California, and it looks like it will drop below freezing for 2 or 3 nights. I keep opening up my weather app, hoping the forecast will change and that it will be a bit warmer. I've seen it calling for as low as 26 Fahrenheit or -3 Celsius. I thought I'd give you a quick garden tour both before and after the freeze and show you a few steps that I can take to help protect my garden from the frost. Here's a claret cup cactus. Those tiny red bumps are the flower buds just starting to poke through. These Aloe Bellatula finally bloomed out after about 3 months. I'll link another video where I talk more about this aloe. Now let's go to the other side. I do have a few weeds I need to tackle. If you're new to my garden, this was a lawn just last year. Thankfully, the weeds haven't been too terrible, but in my local climate, this is the time of year with the most weed activity. A beautiful aloe bloom. The osteospermum are in bloom. This small yellow one is one that I started from seed last fall. Hopefully it's able to catch up to the others. Dickia, or Dickia, whatever is your preference. Here's a new addition. I had mentioned in an earlier video I wanted to try another Leucodendron, and I found this beauty. I love the way the dark leaves contrast against my light gravel. Here's a little trio of succulents with a blooming aloe. And this blooming aloe down here is a blue aloe. Cobweb sedum. And down here I have a bunch of small cactus seedlings that I was a little worried that wouldn't make it through the winter since they were so small, but so far they all seem to be doing fine. I also have a bunch of wood chips down here I need to clean up. And these weeds. This is Gasteria acinaceifolia. This is my favorite Gasteria for the landscape because of its tall, scimitar-like leaves. I also started some of these from seed that I plan on adding to the garden later this year. The orange ice plants have just started to bloom. All the plants are absolutely covered with buds. This is a type of milkweed just coming out of winter dormancy. This is a coral aloe, which is all budded up and about to bloom. This is Kumara plicotilis, formerly Aloe plicotilis. I've seen quite a bit of growth on this plant since I planted it last year. I see that it has started to branch out. I'll share a picture of me next to one of these same plants at the Ruth Bancroft garden. The plant was planted from seed by Brian Kemble in 1982, making it 40 years old. Mine is still a baby, but it did bloom last summer. It's aloe season in my garden. Here's another aloe starting to bloom. The cactus down here is Cleistocactus straussii. I used to keep this as a potted cactus. Then sometime last winter, during a windstorm, the plant fell off a shelf and the top of the cactus broke off. I planted the cactus here early last spring, and it sat all spring and summer with no sign of growth. Then finally, in the fall, I noticed a new growth coming from the bottom, which you can now see is the same height as the original stem. I can also see a new growth has started from the top of the plant. Here we have Mangave Mission to Mars. These also have put on quite a bit of size this year. I'll put up another image from the Ruth Bancroft garden that shows how big these plants can get. Here's an Aloe Violaceae toward the end of blooming. Down here, under the rock, I have a California native succulent, Dudleya. And growing in a tiny hole on the rock, I planted a small cactus seedling. I took a chance not knowing if it would grow in such an exposed location and in such a small amount of soil, but it seems to have established itself. This Senecio has started to bloom. It's fairly new. I planted this in the same spot where I lost my Leucodendron. It's completely covered with buds. Let's see, what else? Down here we have an Agave montana. Not too much growth on this one yet. Here's another cactus I started from seed. I'm not sure the ID of this one, but I'm thrilled to see a new growth emerging from the base. Another beautiful aloe. I have a couple of this one. And down on this end, I have one of my original Leucodendrons. You can see that the buds are starting to form. Now on the other side of the driveway, Aloe Cameronii. And the Palo Verde is not quite blooming yet. It will probably still be another month or two until the flowers emerge. Another Dickia. Here is Opuntia Violaceae Santa Rita. I planted a few of these on each side of the driveway. I can see that this year's new growth is just starting to push through. The African daisies have just started to bloom. I've noticed that the orange variety stays more compact with smaller flowers, while the yellow variety has larger blooms and a more sprawling habit. This Grevillea juniperina is starting to bloom. This Grevillea is a low-spreading ground cover type shrub with deep green, needle-like leaves and a profusion of apricot yellow flowers. And that's the end of the pre-frost tour. Now I'm going to start prepping the garden for tonight's frost. For cactus specifically, the crown is the most sensitive part of the plant. Small plants can be covered with overturned pots or other similar containers, but with taller cactus, if you don't have a container large enough to cover the whole plant, just covering the crown of the plant will provide it with a lot of protection. Paper cups would also be perfect for this task. For my garden, I try to choose plants that can handle a light frost, but since it's getting especially cold tonight, I'm giving the plants a bit of extra protection.